Hey guys, this is take 2. I screwed up the first take. So instead of doing practice 1B, instead of doing practice 1A, we're gonna go ahead and do practice 1B from section 6-5 worksheets. Okay, this worksheet you can find later on Digital Locker, or I'll tell you exactly where you could find it on the vast email I will send later on this evening. Now, looking over in practice 1B. We want to find all the rational roots of this polynomial. Rational roots, okay? This whole entire section or this chapter, we've been finding roots. Roots are numbers that can go inside each of these variable, x. That will make the equation equal to 0. Remember, we talked about this, right? We even looked at what roots are on the graph. So now we're looking at roots for polynomial with different degrees. Now, the rational root theorem essentially can help us find all the rational roots. Now, if you want to apply the rational root theorem, you're going to have to use this little formula over here. You need to find the factors of your constant and over the factors of your leading coefficient. If we look at the polynomial here, the constant term is positive 8. Okay, now let's go ahead and look at all the factors of my constant term. Numbers that divide 8 would be 1, 2, 4, and 8. Okay? Keep in mind that I only wrote out the positive copy of these factors. -1, -2, -4, and -8 also divide 8. So we are going to go ahead and make the negative copy for now. It's just too much to write all at once to write both the positive and negative copy. So we have found all the factors of the constant term. Now we're going to go ahead and find the factors of the leading coefficient. Leading coefficient. Coefficients are the numbers in front of the variable. So the leading coefficient has to be the number in front of the leading term. Leading term would be x cubed, right? Make sure that your polynomial is already in standard form, which means that the degree has to be in descending order. 3, 2, 1, constant, okay? This polynomial was given to us in standard form, so x cubed is already the leading term. The coefficient in front of x cubed would be this imaginary 1, so let's go ahead and write that. And the only factor for 1 would be, well, 1. Okay? So now let's go ahead and use everything that we found, all the factors, and apply it to the little formula we have. Well, the factors for the constant term will go on top of the fraction. So you have 1, 2, 4, and 8 on top of the fraction. And the factors of the leading coefficient, which is 1, goes underneath the fraction. So you have 1, 1, 1, and 1. 1 over 1 is, well, 1. But remember that every positive copies of the factor also has a negative copy of the factors. Because if you look at here, 1 divides 8, but also -1 divides 8. 2 divides 8, but -2 also divides 8. So forth and so forth, alright? So when we're doing this, we have to account for the negative copy of the possible rational roots. So 1 could be a rational root, but -1 could also be a rational root. 2 over 1 is 2, accounting the negative. 4 over 1 is 4, also accounting the -4. 8 over 1 is 8, and accounting for the negative copy, -8. In total, we have 8 possible rational roots. Now, to test which one of these is your rational root, and that makes this equation equal to 0 when you plug it in for x, you will have to do it manually, and in this case you will need to use a calculator. Okay, so on the notes, if you're gonna go through and check each one of these, you'll find that, let me use a different color, you'll find that the number 4 works. So let's go ahead and check out how this works, okay? So let's go ahead and plug 4 back into our original polynomial. We have 4. We're just plugging it. We're plugging the number back into x and see if it equals to 0. 4 cubed minus 4 times 4 squared minus 2 times 4 plus 8. Let's see. 4 cubed is 64. 4 squared is 16. 16 times negative 4 is, again, minus 64. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8 plus 8. Well, a positive 64 minus 64, 0, cancels out. Negative 8 plus 8, again, positive negative cancels out. So this equation, when you plug it in, when you plug 4 in, you get exactly 0, and that's exactly what we're looking for, right? This makes it 4 a root. So that's that. That's 1b. That's how you find all the possible rational roots. And when you find it, you have to check each one individually and see if it equals to 0. If it does, that is a rational root. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next step. We're going to go ahead and do practice 2b. Okay? So practice 2b is over here. So let's see. So here it says in this direction, practice 2b, it says find the roots of the same polynomial equation that we worked on from 1b. Okay? We don't have to reinvent the wheel, and we don't have to find the rational roots again and check each one. So if you refer to 1b, you remember that 4 was my root. 4 was my rational root. So let's just go ahead and write x equal to 4 is my rational root. But in this case, we're not asked to find the rational roots anymore. We're asked to find all the roots. Roots could be rational, irrational, or imaginary. So we have to apply a little bit of things that we learned from chapter 5. In this case, we have to use synthetic division. Okay? So here we go. Let's go ahead and apply synthetic division here. So let's go ahead and make a little L shape. Okay? The roots, right? This is something that divides the polynomial. So we're going to put the roots out here. 4. Okay? Now to apply synthetic division, we're going to extract all the coefficients and constant and put it on top. But let's go ahead and write x cubed, x squared, x, and here's a constant term. Okay, let's go ahead and find the coefficients for each of these terms and also find the constant on the polynomial. The coefficient for x cubed would be just 1. If you're looking at referred back to this polynomial. The coefficient for x squared would be negative 4. Coefficient for x would be negative 2. And finally, we have the constant term, 8. Right? So, synthetic division, drop down the first coefficient. 4 times 1 is 4. Add the 2 together, negative 4 plus 4 gives you 0. 4 times 0 is 0. Negative 2 plus 0, negative 2. 4 times negative 2 gives you negative 8. Finally, negative 8 plus 8 gives you 0. Okay, I'm boxing this in. This is my remainder. My remainder is 0. In this case, the remainder does nothing to you, right? But it's just there. We don't have to worry about it. And just keep in mind that when you do synthetic division, you're breaking down the polynomial into smaller pieces because you're dividing it. And you're dividing it by x, right? So each of these degrees are going to go down by 1. So here on the top, 1 was, well, here in this column, it's aligned by x cubed. But since we divide it by x equal to 4, it's going to go down by a degree of 1. So it's 1x squared plus 0x minus 2 equals to 0. We're going to go ahead and rewrite this whole new equation on the right hand side here. Okay, so our new polynomial, after we use synthetic division and break it down, we have x squared, well, plus 0x. 0 times x gives you 0. It's gone. So all we have to write is x squared minus 2 equals to 0. And now from here, we can solve for x. How do we solve for x? move the 2 on the other side. So add 2 on both sides. X squared equals to 2. Now square root both sides. Okay, x is equal to plus or minus square root of 2. So how many roots do we have in total? Let's see. We have plus radical 2 minus radical 2. So we have 2 roots here plus the original rational root. That makes 3 in total. Now, check out the degree of this polynomial. This degree of the polynomial is 3. Okay, and how many roots does it have? It has exactly 3. What do you think a 4th degree polynomial have? How many roots would a 4th degree polynomial have? And what about a 5th degree, 6th degree, and so forth? Okay, so that's that. Now, moving on to definitions on the other stuff. That other stuff you probably want to come to class and get the notes from other people, okay? That stuff would be a lot easier if it was explained to you in person. I think this stuff you need to probably watch the video a little bit, a few times to get, and let it sit in your head for a little bit and marinate. The other stuff is relatively easy, and it's just a lot of technical stuff. Here is, well, a lot of things are going on here. Okay, so that's it for section 6-5. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. Okay, bye.